This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video. Watch now.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Well, here we go. Racing Back is back. Hi, Jules and Paul Butler, part 2. We've been having a little discussion about things we're going to talk to Paul about, and suddenly we discovered he was involved in Mike Hailwood's, the most famous return to racing ever when he came back and rode in the TT, of course on the Ducati, but he also rode Yamaha. We had to have a little look in the record books, didn't we, Jules, just to check it out. But there you go. So, right, Paul, where should we start? We ended last week by saying, how involved were you when Ago switched from 4-stroke, from MV Agusta to Yamaha 2-stroke? I mean, it was a massive thing to happen at the time, wasn't it?
It was, and it was largely due, I think, to the fact that Ago had been racing with MV and with Phil Reed as his
teammate, probably not the right word, is it?
Well, it was a bit. Well, it's feisty, I say. Probably is the answer. We all know what Phil was like. He was a single-minded person, and as racers are, and I think it just didn't. Again, we also know the reputation of MV. It's a bit of the Enzo Ferrari syndrome. They like the old commendatory, like pitting riders against each other, and I think the atmosphere didn't suit Ago, and therefore Rodney Gould was took the opportunity to talk to Ago, and it turned out that he was a willing mover. But what I'd like to mention in that context is the Imola 200, which was in its first year in '72, and I went to that race, and which was won, of course, by Paul Smart on Ducati. But I was never as impressed with Ago as up to that point as I was at that race, because he was riding a 750 MV with shaft drive, and he didn't make the finish, but he rode it absolutely incredibly hard and very, very well. Super impressive. And therefore I had little doubt that he'd managed to master the two-stroke, and of course in time he did, even though he was battling people like Jarno Saarinen and all the Japanese riders of the time. It was good stuff. But that was a major thing.
Yeah. And Jarno Saarinen, do you have a lot to do with him? Because I know people of my age look back and think, what a truly great world champion he probably would have been in the big class.
Well, no question about it. And I was actually in I forget where I was in. No, I was in London at the time of the tragic ending, and I got a phone call from somebody. It was such a dreadful shock. But Jarno was definitely a genius. He really was, and he was a lovely bloke as well. And of course, it was a period of a big up in Scandinavia, because you've got largely through him, I guess, but it was that sort of ice racing background, and you'd got Tepi Lansivori, and it was big boom time also for the distributors up there. It was very positive, and that's all over, sadly. But great times, and a great rider.
At Ollie, we've got wellness down to a science. From PMS to pregnancy to menopause, our women's wellness line offers science-backed support for every stage. No judgment, no shame, none of the stigma. Just supplements designed to meet you wherever you're at. Ollie, choose science over shame. Find support at a retailer near you or on ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
Just come back to the TT and Mike Howard, because the TT approaches, and we always remember the great man and the amazing comeback. Of course, as I said, it was on a Ducati, but of course he also rode Yamahas, didn't he? That first year when he came back, 70, 78? Yeah.
Bit of historical context, Nick. The Ducati prior to the event was considered just a weird choice, and that was going to do nothing. But it was the Yamahas, a 350 and a 500, wasn't there?
250 as well.
A 250 as well.
250, 350 and 500. And what
Martini
it was,
sponsorship, big deal.
Yeah. Oh yes, and it was all gloriously optimistic on the face of it, but we on the technical end of it, although I wasn't directly, but obviously Nobby and Jerry Wood were, and we knew what we were dealing with. The background to that was that it was a very good commercial deal that was pulled off, but there were still doubts in the minds of a number of people in Yamaha that Halewood was a Honda man. And and so
with the Japanese, that matters, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so the support in terms of equipment was not there. I was working for Naito-san in product planning up until I moved across to the PR end of it. And Naito was a lovely man. I adored him. I admired him. He was a wonderful man, really good man. And no longer with us, sadly. But he, of course, had been on the V4s. He was a racing engineer with Ivy and Reed, and he was up for it, but he knew, I think, that he couldn't get the kit that would really do justice to Mike's effort. We got parts from various sources, but it was clear that it wasn't a factory effort by any means, and so there were various issues. I mean, I think it was on the 750. On the 500. I think Mike decided that he wanted a steering damper, and he'd had some experience because he'd been doing a bit of racing in New Zealand and other places. Australia as well. That he'd got. He thought that Kawasaki had got a really good steering damper, so this was fitted to the 500, and it broke sadly during that effort. So that was the thing that knock that sideways. But the fundamental was the very point that there wasn't a full-on engineering support for it, and so it was rather sad, actually, that it had to end the way it did. But having said that, the fact that he got the ride from Sports Motorcycles meant that, as far as I was concerned, he got a legendary victory, which he thoroughly deserved, because I thought he was at that stage undoubtedly the goat of the business. And he was such a good bloke, I mean,
I was just going to ask you that, yeah.
Oh, the time in his company was just absolutely superb, joyous. I mean, great sense of humour, great musician, as you know, and an extraordinary bloke. But there we are.
Yeah, well, as I say, we think of Mike Howard. Certainly, he's my goat without any an Oxford boy. So, and he's an Oxford boy. But
of course.
Yeah.
You were talking about Kenny Roberts, and you were saying you came with Wayne Rainey and Alan Carter, and of course, Jules was there, and I was there. 1983, that French Grand Prix at Le Mans, a British win. Alan Carter won the 250cc race.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, really great. But it was again a bit of a personality clash, really, because Kenny was a bit hard on him. It was sort of, at that time, it was part of Kenny getting used to Europe, and I think he felt. He obviously wanted to be a winning team, and it obviously wasn't going to happen because poor old Wayne couldn't start the bike. He used to practice with earphones on, music playing, because he kept trying to listen to the engine, and of course it wasn't doing it for him. So we had to block it out, so he got a feel for it, and it didn't work. And he fluffed the starts on so many occasions that I think we were 6th and 8th or something in the championship that year. But it set up the basis of the team. Yamaha let us use the workshop. We got a good functioning motorhome, of course, that Kenny needed when he was going to come over, and they also were very good to us. I was able to use their import-export facilities, so we didn't have to worry about all of that. That went through their in-house administration, and we were allowed to use workshop space. So it got us off and running, and it was well. I'm eternally grateful to Yamaha for that, because it was the sort of start that was fundamental, and it all grew from there. And at the end of that, as I said, it was obvious that Kenny needed to have his name on a 500 team. So 1975 was effectively a year of planning that. I went out to California a few times to sit down with Kenny in Hickman. And I won't go into other experiences that we had while we were there, but it was. but
you're still alive, though, Paul. So
well, I tell you, one vivid memory was he got an enormous satellite dish out in the backyard, because he lived in a sort of a mobile home at that time before he built his log cabin on site, and he got this huge satellite dish out at the back, and it was the time of the great boxing match between middleweight.
Middleweight, golly, yeah.
Marvin Hagler.
Yes, Hagler and
Durant.
Golly, you've lost me now, boys.
Anyway, it was definitely Hagler. It was one of the great fights of all time.
Yes.
And we got it in negative. Which because of the background of the fighters made it, it was difficult to tell them apart. But anyway, that was memorable. And at the end of it, we put together a strategy. Randy Mamela was a part of the deal because Lucky Strike were based through Brown and Williamson, the parent company, in Brussels, and I actually had a contact who was working with them because they'd got involvements with Assen and Dutch racers, Stroyer and so on, with Barclay cigarettes, which was one of their brands. And so the word came down that they'd be interested in getting into 500 Grand Prix. So I went down to Brussels and met with this very charming lady who was representing Brown and Williamson there at the time, and after a number of presentations, we got the deal for Randy and Mike Baldwin.
Right, of course.
Kenny decided that he was, he knew him from racing for Honda in the American Championship, and although he's a bit of an oddball, he's a lovely bloke too. But interestingly, he had this theory that he could get one-way tickets cheaper than returns, and so. And he went back home to the States almost every time when there was an interval that allowed it. But so unusual. And he also he initially slept in the paddock in a quite a small caravan, and and because he was disturbed by the activity and noise around it, he erected a tent over it at one time. So he was difficult to track down, and the memorable one during the season was at Spa, where Kenny had got his motorhome parked up, and you remember how the paddock was at the time.
Yeah.
And he was parked up fairly close to the entrance to the tunnel out of the paddock.
Yeah.
And Baldwin was not very security conscious, didn't go back to his caravan. So after he'd had a fairly energetic practice session, he would hang his leathers up on Kenny's door to the motorhome on a hanger. And Kenny'd come back and say, Mike, if you do that, you'll lose them. They'll get stolen. Don't do it. So he came back after probably the next practice session, and there were the leathers hanging there again. So Kenny thought, right, I'll teach him a lesson. So he took them inside and put them underneath the seat. And Baldwin comes back and says, "Where are my leathers?" And Kenny said, "I don't know, maybe somebody walked off with them, like I told you would happen." So he set off, and he ran. He'd seen a delivery bread van going out of the tunnel as he came in, and he set off after it and stopped it, threw himself on foot, and Kenny had to go out and say, "No, Mike, it's all right. I found your leather." But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you do. So, but the great stories, and then. Now, Wayne Rainey Wayne was still came in to ride the 500 for the team then, did he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did, and he was that was later, because we were actually in Sugo at the big road race, as it was called.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yamaha's track up by Sendai, and we got Randy, and we got I forget who was right. Oh, I think Eddie Lawson was there at that time for that race, and we were talking. Kenny, it was no. I'm digressing. We'd actually been at, that was later, we'd been at Yamaha's Leisureland, having made a visit to Yamaha to discuss various issues, Kenny and I. And so we got a bit of a time on our hands. Randy was there with his girlfriend of the time, Alex, and he was absolutely besotted with her to the point that he was somewhat distracted, we could say. Anyway, Kenny said to me, what do you think Lucky Strike will say if we decide to change both our riders for next year? And I said, well, I can tell you, Kenny, that they have complete faith in you. So if you say that's what you want to do because it's going to get the results that they want to get, they'll go with it. And he said, right, well, let's do it. So that was when Wayne came in, and I think dear, I'd have to look in the record book to be absolutely sure. But I think that was also when. Come on, you guys must remember who.
Kevin McGee.
Yes, of course. Oh, well done. Thank God. God. Thank God. I knew you guys had helped me out when my brain started to straight.
Yeah, Kevin McGee, he won one Grand Prix, didn't he, Kevin? Yeah.
He did. Drama, which was brilliant. And they got on well together, which was important. And so that was that stage. And eventually, I mean, it just then evolved out of that, where we were actually getting exhausting the budget somewhat, and so Kenny was constantly ambitious and frustrated that we were not winning world championships at that point. We finished second, and he decided that he wanted to build his own motorcycle. Eventually, that was his target. Yeah. But in the meantime, he wanted to get the Marlboro money on the Yamahas, and he therefore made the bid. Well, we made the bid, and we got it, and that was Wayne and Eddie. And it was, it was
pretty successful.
Well, it was a great period of time. In fact, on the whole time with I left in '92 because Kenny at that stage he wasn't he'd gone the Formula One route, if you recall. He'd got Barnard in advising, and wanted to build his own bike, and he thought that he could do that, and interestingly, I was watching the Northwest 200, and there was Jeremy McWilliams winning yesterday, on Saturday, I should say. Yeah. And of course, Kenny got a win on his own bike, so he did actually achieve that, but he didn't do it with Marlboro because times were changing. So there you go. But we did overall. We had just for the record, we actually had 88 podiums out of 100 Grand Prix in that period up until '92. Yeah.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Oscar Mayer hot dogs and Heinz mustard. Grill up a dog, add classic yellow mustard, or loaded Chicago style. We all know it's not a cookout without Oscar Mayer and Heinz.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
That percentage thing is always a remarkable number to look back on, because Rainey leads in terms of percentage rostrum finishes. For his starts, he's way ahead of anybody.
Yeah, and you also have to feed into that, Julian, and I'm sure you already have, the fact that we change tyre brands about
once every 6 months, I seem to recall. Yeah.
You knew all about that, Paul, didn't you?
well, yes, indeed. Yeah.
So changes for you as well, then, Paul, and you moved more onto, can we say, the administration side, and then obviously became a race director for the whole MotoGP series.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, IRTA was evolving at that time, and I had some experience in the background of the Federation Wars with Bernie and.
I have to tell you, gentlemen, that we're going to have to come back to this one because there's only 3 minutes left.
Oh my God!
So we've it's been fascinating stuff. But I think, Paul, we'll get these two out and maybe give you a shout in a month's time or something, and pick up from the team management to the race direction.
Well,
it's been fascinating.
We should get at least 3 shows out of that, I should think. we'll have to wait and see what the ratings are like.
Indeed. Indeed. I'm sure
we're not worried about the ratings. We're just enjoying ourselves. And we do worry, but no.
Not
Paul. That's
I've enjoyed it, and I'm so happy that I bumped into Julian at Stafford, because that was a sort of a last minute decision to go over.
I was actually busy, Paul. I couldn't talk much. It's hello, Paul. Hello, Vicky, and that was it.
No, but it was great to see you, and I'm very happy that it started the process.
It's excellent. Thank you.
Paul Butler, my golly, what a life he's had in Grand Prix racing. MV Augusta to Yamaha with Giacomo Agostini, Kenny Roberts, and then, of course, the race director and all the ups and downs that brought in the modern times. Many thanks to Paul. And as we said last time out, thoughts go to Ted McCauley. It was so much to do with Mike Howard coming back to the TT and being mentioned many times by Paul. Right, next week at last, Maria Koff is coming on to talk about female racers. She is producing a film on this subject, and she hasn't wanted to come on before then because the film is still in production. But wow, what a story. I remember as a young boy watching black and white television with my dad, and BBC Television did a feature on Beryl Swain. She rode a 50cc item. She was going around a cycle track at Herne Hill in London. She then went on to ride in the TT in the Isle of Man, finished the race. Promptly, female riders were banned by the FIM from Grand Prix racing. I think female passengers' sidecars were allowed, but not to race solos.
Yep, there was a long history of female sidecar passengers. I suppose the one we remember would be Dana Rowe, who was Andy Kurt's passenger in that revolutionary, was it the Crescent, he called it, or the Cat?
Well, the Cat, I think, wasn't it? Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Then obviously been many since, and before, early ones, But the FIM did relent, and I think Julie and I were both at Hockenheim in late 70s, early 80s. 70s, early 80s, I think it was. And Tara Rinne was riding. And
and
he led the race, didn't she? The 125cc race, the finished ride.
This was in Hockenheim.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And she led them back into the stadium.
Yeah.
And the roar that went up from our distance. Later found out she'd shoved Fausto Grissini out of the way at the chicane to take the lead.
So, and I do believe Maria has been to Finland and spoken to her. Yeah. And she's spoken to her in the workshop of a certain Jarno Saarinen.
Oh,
so
blimey.
that is going to be very special. And later on, Gina Bouvard, I remember her coming from the States to ride a 500cc Yamaha. She struggled to qualify because, boy, riding one of those four-cylinder two-strokes was tough. But she did qualify. She rode at Nogaro in France, I remember. And now in the modern day, Julian, well, all the girls that have done so well in Moto3, and of course now they've got their own world championship. And it's going to be a fascinating program with Maria.
It does look like a properly serious bit of journalism, this film. Not just a collection of cuttings. It'd be fascinating to listen to her.
Yeah, she's spoken to Gina Bouvard. So say she's been to Finland to speak to Tara Rinne. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. Looking forward to having you back with us. Thanks, Paul Butler, for this weekend. And we look forward to next weekend and a continuation of Racing Back. Wit and wisdom, as Julian calls
Wit and wisdom, yes. Don't forget, you can join our club. Couple of quid in our piggy bank, and you get our words of wit and wisdom. Let's say it again, a day early, and plus chat rooms and things like that. But if you don't want to, spend the price of a coffee, and why should you if you don't want to? Be lovely if you'd click on the subscribe button on whichever service you get your podcast from, because that helps us, with promotion and getting up those algorithm things.
That's right. Don't forget, if you're buying any tickets for a motorsport event, get them through motorsports.com, motorsporttickets.com, sorry. The QR code up on the screen now. That helps us as well. Thanks again. Good to speak to you, Jules. Good to speak to Paul Butler. Looking forward to next week. And, wit and wisdom at its best.